Welcome back. We are talking with three of my personal heroes in the fight to save persecuted Christians, and much else, frankly. They are saving Western civilization because the people killing Christians want to take down Judeo-Christian civilization. Dede, introduce our friend Charmaine once again, if you would, please. Nadine, Menza, and I had a little riff there going, but we haven't heard from Charmaine, and she's got a very important contribution to make to this discussion.
As I said, Frank, Charmaine Heading is the president of Shai Fund in Israel, and she is one of those who is very desperately trying to get humanitarian aid across the border and into Soweto. People are literally dying of thirst, Frank. They can't get water even. So, Charmaine, tell us a little bit about some of the hurdles that you're experiencing trying to get your humanitarian aid in.
Thanks for having me, Frank and Dede. I think it's important to understand that the Druze community, which is a religious ethnic community in Syria, has communities in Lebanon, in Syria, and of course in Israel. And they have mobilized a tremendous amount of support, as much as they can, to get the aid across the border and into Soweto, where the al-Sharaa regime has enforced a blockade. And so they're not allowing basic food, water, flour. These kinds of communities consume vast amounts of flour, tons of it. And we know that there's a massive shortage of these and other medicines. And the problem is that it's supposed to go through Damascus, where the governor of Damascus, which is an HTS governor, then has to sign off on all of the aid, including the aid that's going through the Red Crescent. And they are politicizing the aid. They will not sign off on it. And they are using it to blockade the Druze in order to weaken them so that they do not protest against what is happening. And what is happening is an ethnic cleansing. We've just heard today that there were mass graves found. The amounts of gang rapes. We know that 38 villages of the Druze are in control of HTS, and they're not giving them back. And we want
now, again, just to clarify, Charmaine, HTS is the Al-Qaeda, ISIS sort of, subsidiary that was run by this president of Syria until very recently. So when you're talking about HTS, are you talking about a terrorist organization to which he still has connections?
Of course, we know that he's connected to Al-Qaeda. We know that he knows what Al-Qaeda is up to across the region, including in Afghanistan. And yes, HTS was a terrorist organization until it was delisted, until he was delisted recently. But there's also other groups that he's brought into his Syrian National Army for the transitional government. At this point, we're still in a transitional period. And they have elements of ISIS in. And we've seen a number of Syrian National Army uniforms in Soweto with ISIS patches. So we know, I've seen
it's
the
kind
videos,
of a clue.
It's a clue. And if we don't get it, shame on us.
Yeah. Dede, I want to explore further this proposition that if you could get a humanitarian corridor that obviously doesn't get subjected to the same kind of hijacking or manipulation, it might actually help stave off some of the worst of the persecution that is befalling these people. Is that right?
Absolutely, Frank. If the people can be strengthened, and they're not the only ones suffering in Syria right now. The Christians in Damascus are suffering. The Kurds and Christians and other groups who have formed their own autonomous region and self-governance up in northeast Syria are also under the pressure of these Syrian army, HTS commanders and fighters. And so we need stability in Syria, and we need to call for equal rights for all of the minorities in Syria. Their constitution must be a constitution for all Syrians and not just for the Muslims of Syria. There are so many
The
things,
jihadists, most especially.
yes, but to first and foremost, the biggest priority here is to stabilize the lives of those who are literally being starved to death and deprived of everything they need for life.
Yeah.
The U.S.
Let
can
me
have a
ask each of
strong
you-
role in this.
Yeah, just to wrap this up, we've got 3 minutes. Just if each of you would, in your own words, speak to this issue. President Trump has taken a very strong and desperately needed stance about, as I said in my commentary, not just the Christians in Nigeria, but Christians in other nations around the world. Must he now take the same stance, even if it's uncomfortable, with a guy who hasn't, again, at the very best, until recently, been directly implicated in the kind of Islamist terror and persecution that he abhors in Nigeria, rightly, and may still be doing it, albeit through, cadets. Nadine, let me start with you.
Yeah, so I think that as President prepares to meet with President Trump prepares to meet with al-Shara this next week in Washington, he can make a case for the Christians, for all the minorities of Syria, and part of that is how they set up this governance. They set it up in a decentralized way where local communities can have a say in their own security and in their own governments. Right now, all the mayors are from Idlib. The security forces are all from Idlib, which means they're all part of HTS. Local Christians can't have a say. They can't secure their own areas. If that changed and the White House pushed for decentralization so that people could have a say in their own governments, their own security, that could produce some safer areas for these minorities to be able to live. And that's something the White House could absolutely demand from this government, and it would go far for these communities.
And really must. Charmaine, your thoughts on that question?
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't realize that Christians are being caught up, and a lot of these jihadis are saying, we're coming for you next. And in the Sweda region where the massacres happened with the Druze, we know that there were Christians that were killed, whole Christian families, Muslim background believing churches that were existing in this region with the Druze were all wiped out by these jihadis. If we say we care for the religious minorities, then we have to have a decentralized Syria with equal citizenship for all that offers protection for everyone within that country. It's a priority.
So really, it's a bigger project than just a humanitarian corridor to try to really prevent what's going on at the moment.
Yeah.
Dede, your thoughts on the question?
Well, Frank, the proxy wars of Turkey and Iran into the Middle East is spread all throughout Africa, not only Nigeria, but Burkina Faso, Niger, Mozambique, Mali, Sudan, Ethiopia. They are all suffering from these jihadists. President Trump is a truth teller, and he is standing for persecuted Christians around the world. He's got a big fight on his hands.
Let me just say, Dede and all three of you, if you could comment very briefly on this, we're facing the reality, as I think you said, Nadine, they're coming for Christians elsewhere too, including in this country. We just had Zoran Mamdani elected to run New York City, and a man who makes no bones, I think, about his affinities for this Sharia supremacism. Is this a problem for Americans here at home as well? Dede, may we start with you?
Yeah, very much so, Frank. In fact, going viral on social media today is a 2019 video of Cardinal Sarah, who said the barbarians are already here. And I've been saying, if we do inside the gate, if we do not counter this jihad that's raging around the world, and we've invited them into our borders here through the Biden administration, they are on our doorstep, they are knocking on the door, and they are in our streets. Frank, we are in danger.
I'm sorry, Nadine and Charmaine, I'm out of time today to ask you to respond to that same question, but I know it's on your hearts to come back, and we'll address all of these issues at greater length in the near future. In the meantime, God bless you and the great work you're doing to save persecuted Christians. Keep it up. God bless the rest of you as well. Stay tuned for more of Securing America right after this.